My stepdaughter said, "You're just here to pay for things. That's it." So I canceled the car payment, shut down her phone line, transferred the remaining balance to her mom's account with a note that read, "Not my responsibility anymore." By the next evening, she couldn't even order dinner. My name's Alan. I'm 44. I live in Denver, Colorado. And 5 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life, trying to build a family in a house already emptied of one. Claire was strong when we met. At least she looked strong. The kind of woman who smiled without trying too hard, who folded her arms when she laughed, who didn't pretend to be impressed. I liked that. I'd been through enough to know the difference between charm and survival. Her daughter Madison was 13 back then, cold, always tucked into the corner of a room, always holding something, a phone, a tablet, a pair of noise-canceling headphones like armor. She never looked at me directly unless she wanted something. Most of the time, she didn't even acknowledge I was in the room. And when she did, it was with the kind of indifference that makes you feel like a waiter who brought the wrong dish. Her dad Derek had vanished years ago, but somehow he never really left. His name still floated through the house in texts, gift cards, old photos, anecdotes delivered with a smirk. Madison talked about him like he was some war hero gone but noble, always just out of reach, the ghost she chose to love. Meanwhile, I was the man who showed up every day. I was the one who paid for the house, covered the groceries, the internet, the dentist appointments. I fixed the dryer when it broke. I unclogged the toilet when she tried to flush a bracelet down it. I built the desk she never thanked me for. I drove her to appointments she never spoke a word during. No one ever said thank you. Not once. I remember one night in particular. Madison was working on a science fair project, a ridiculous mess of foam board and string lights. I offered to help genuinely. I didn't need to be praised or photographed. I just wanted a moment. Connection. She didn't even look up. "Derek's better at that stuff," she said, like a reflex. Then, after a beat, she added, "Can you still drive me to Home Depot though?" I said yes. Of course I said yes. What else was I supposed to say? So I stood in the aisle while she picked out supplies. I paid without a word. I loaded everything into the trunk while she scrolled through her phone, texting someone with a little smile on her face. Never once looked up at me. When the project was finished, and it looked good, because I'd cut the board perfectly and suggested the layout, Claire posted a photo on Facebook. The caption burned itself into my skull. "So proud of my daughter, and the father who inspired this. Derek." She meant Derek. She hadn't forgotten me. It wasn't about that. It was about erasing me on purpose. It happened in 1,000 small ways after that. Like death by 1,000 cuts. Quiet, invisible moments where I was reminded, sometimes gently, sometimes with a slap, that I was in the house but not of the house. When Madison's school needed parent chaperones for a trip, Claire signed up but wrote Derek's name on the form. She said it would mean something if he showed up. He didn't, of course. He never did. But the name was still there. On the clipboard. On the itinerary. On her expectations. When Madison turned 14, Claire threw her a party. It wasn't anything wild, just a few friends, some cake, decorations from Party City. I grilled burgers in the backyard. I bought the stupid banner with her name on it. I paid for everything. I even cleaned the garage so they could have space to hang out. When the gifts were unwrapped, I noticed mine wasn't even in the pile. Claire had quietly slid it into Madison's room earlier. She said, "It's from both of us." But I knew the truth. Madison never even knew I'd picked it out. What was Derek's gift? A text message and a $25 Starbucks card. She smiled at her phone like he'd sent her the moon. I stood by the sink doing dishes while Claire talked to her sister on speakerphone in the next room. "He sent something," she said, laughing. "At least he tried. At least he tried." That was the standard. That was the bar he had to clear. Showing up once a year with a digital gift code and a memory from a different lifetime. Meanwhile, I was working 10-hour days, covering 2/3 of the mortgage, and still getting asked to drive carpool because Claire's schedule was tighter than mine. They talked about him like he was some wandering saint, like he'd been forced out, like he had no choice. But I read the court documents. I saw the missed payments. I saw the years of nothing. And I was the idiot who thought I could step in and fill the hole he left behind. Let me be clear. I never wanted to replace Derek. I never used the word dad. I didn't demand affection or loyalty. All I wanted was to build something steady. A rhythm. A home. But homes are made of more than floors and walls. They're made of acknowledgement, of warmth, of earned presence. And mine was always borrowed, never owned. There were other cracks, too. Subtle, like a hairline fracture in a foundation. You don't see it until the whole damn thing shifts under your feet. I'd come home from work, drop my keys in the bowl by the door, and hear laughter from the living room, only for it to go silent the moment I stepped in. Claire would say, "We're just watching something." But the screen would be paused, and Madison would pull her blanket tighter around herself, like I'd brought a cold wind in with me. Once I walked in on her video calling a friend. She didn't mute it, didn't even flinch. "Ugh, my mom's husband just got home," she said, like I was a pest. Not stepdad, not Alan, not even he's cool sometimes. Just my mom's husband. I turned and walked right back out the door. The weight wasn't in the words. It was in the patterns. In the way every family photo in the hallway ended before I arrived. In the way Claire always used the word we to mean her and Madison, even when I was the one footing the bill. "We're so proud of her. We're heading out this weekend. We just want what's best for her." I was never part of that we. I told myself it's just time. She's young. She's hurt. She'll grow into it. But time didn't fix anything. It only sharpened the silence. It made me invisible. And invisibility has a price. It starts small. Forgetting to say goodnight, ignoring your presence in a conversation, leaving your name off the Christmas card list to the neighbors. But then it grows. It hardens. It calcifies into something you can't scrub out of the walls. There was one more moment. The one that told me, finally, I was living in someone else's home. It was after dinner. I'd made tacos. Claire and Madison had eaten quickly, then drifted upstairs to watch some Netflix show. I stayed behind to clean the kitchen. I remember standing there, hands in the sink, music low on the Bluetooth speaker, and thinking, this is it. This is all I am here. The cleaner, the bank, the background. Then I heard Madison's voice from upstairs, laughing. "No, Derek's not dead. He's just smarter than Alan. He got out." Claire didn't laugh. She didn't correct her either. She just let it sit there. That silence, that shrug of a silence, was louder than any scream. It was the moment I stopped pretending. People say disrespect builds over time. They're wrong. It hits you instantly, like a slap across the face you didn't see coming. What builds over time is your ability to ignore it, to excuse it, to absorb it, to tell yourself, she didn't mean it. He's just a teenager. This is what parenting looks like. But disrespect isn't something you grow into. It's something you get used to until you don't. I paid for everything. Claire didn't ask, not directly, but somehow my wallet was always open. Madison's braces, her phone bill, new gym shoes when her feet grew again, the trips to the urgent care after her skateboarding accidents, a therapist when she decided she hated school, a gaming headset she just had to have because everyone else on her Discord server had one. And every time the transaction cleared, I waited for something. A word, a nod, a glance. But all I ever got was silence. Once, she posted a picture online holding that very headset I'd bought. Bright pink, overpriced, imported from Japan because her friends said they were the best. Her caption said, "Thanks, Dad. Derek sent it, right?" No, I did. I just didn't matter. Claire saw the post and didn't say a thing. Just scrolled past it with a smile like it was cute, like it was normal. And I remember sitting there in the kitchen, watching her scroll, wondering what kind of silence kills faster. The kind that hides behind politeness or the kind that just watches while you're erased in plain sight. Still, I waited, like a fool. Waited for a birthday card signed, "Love you, Alan." Waited for a moment when she'd say, "I know you're not my dad, but thanks for being there." Waited for Claire to tell her daughter to stop acting like I was a stranger in the house I paid for. Instead, I got New Year's Eve. We'd thrown a small party. Just family, a few neighbors, nothing extravagant. I grilled steaks. Claire made sangria. Madison floated in and out of the kitchen like royalty, nose in her phone, dressed like she was going to a nightclub. She barely said a word to me. I set the table, set out the candles. Claire lit them. She always did. She said it made things feel warm. We sat down around 9:30, all three of us, and toasted the year. I raised my glass. Not expecting anything, not asking for recognition, just hoping for a moment of belonging. Claire smiled, lifted her wine, and said, "Let's toast the one who makes everything happen, me." Madison laughed. Full volume. That ugly teenage laugh that doesn't care who it crushes. They both clinked glasses. Claire winked at her, and I just sat there, glass halfway up, forgotten. No one looked at me, not even a glance. That was the moment. Right there. That was when something cracked. I set my glass down. Didn't say a word. Just reached into my pocket, opened the finance app, and tapped 3 buttons. Madison's trust account, downgraded access, removed her from the spending card, set her emergency fund to inactive. No fireworks that year. Not for her, anyway. She tried to order delivery. Card declined. Tried to buy party poppers online. Site froze. Couldn't verify payment. Claire didn't notice. Madison just grumbled and disappeared into her room. And I was already downstairs in the office, opening a spreadsheet. 5 years. Every cent. Every line. Rent. Groceries. School fees. Clothes. Haircuts. Appointments. Streaming subscriptions. Birthday parties. Braces. Band fees. Back-to-school shopping. Replacing her iPhone screen when she dropped it. Twice. Gift cards for her friends' birthdays. Fuel for the car she drove like she earned it. The emergency vet bill when her cat got sick. The streaming service she used to watch shows I'd never even heard of. Total? $115,842. I stared at the number. Cold. Bare. Indifferent. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Anger is fire. This was ice. This was clarity. They didn't see me. Not really. They just saw the structure I built and assumed it would hold forever. That night I didn't sleep. I just kept refining the sheet. Line by line. Memory by memory. A few days later, Claire started calling. It began with a text. "Hey, can we talk?" Then a phone call. Then another. Then a voicemail. I didn't answer. I just sent the spreadsheet. Titled it, "Financial Support for Madison. 5 years." She opened it. I saw the timestamp. An hour later, she called again. "You went too far." I said nothing. "She's a kid, Alan. You know Derek won't step up." "I know." "Then what are you doing?" "I want her to understand what I did for her." Claire paused. "She's scared." "She should be." "That's cruel." "No. It's math." Madison messaged me a few hours later. Short. Dry. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. But it wasn't real. Not yet." I knew what she missed, the money, not the man. I didn't reply. Instead, I started packing. Claire came home from work early and found me folding shirts into a duffel. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Her mouth didn't move for a long time. Then she said, "Are you leaving?" I didn't look at her. "Is there anything left here for me?" "She's just a girl." "No," I said. "She's exactly who you raised her to be. She's scared. Ashamed. She should be." I gave her everything. I gave you both everything. Claire stepped forward, reached for my hand, pulled away. "You let her turn me into an ATM," I said. "And you stood by while it happened. She's a kid. She's almost 18, old enough to know what respect looks like." She said nothing. "You never corrected her. Not once." "That's not true." "Name a time." Claire opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing. So I booked an Airbnb. 30 minutes away. Clean. Quiet. No family photos. No misplaced shoes in the hallway. No teenage sighs echoing down the stairs like judgment. Just space. Just silence. On the second night, Claire called. I answered. I showed her everything, she said. The spreadsheet. The receipts. The missed calls. I didn't respond. She cried. I didn't ask why. She asked me if you hate her. I don't, I said. But I'm done letting her step on me. Then Claire asked a different question. Do you still love her? There was a long pause. I didn't answer. She hung up. The next morning, I got a text alert from the DMV. Madison's car had been towed. Expired tags. No insurance. No payments. I logged into the registration portal. Opened the title. One last click. Release ownership. Done. Let her ask Derek for a ride. Let him answer her next text. Let him send the gift card. Let him fill the tank. Let him remember the PIN. Let him show up. Because I had been there. Every morning, every birthday, every school night, every slammed door, every silent ride home, every ignored suggestion, every cold look, every ungrateful sigh. And it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. So I stopped trying. I didn't expect regret. Not from Claire. Not from Madison. Not from anyone. When people get used to you giving, they don't miss you when you leave, they miss the faucet. The flow. The comfort of your silence while they take what they want. So when I walked out of that house, I didn't expect anyone to follow. They didn't. That was the clearest truth of all. For 2 days I heard nothing. No calls. No texts. No fake apologies. No surprise visits. Just silence. Felt clean. Like a fever finally breaking. Then the emails started. Claire first. Subject line. Please, can we talk? I didn't reply. Then Madison. Her message was longer than I expected. 3 paragraphs. Said she was processing. Said she didn't realize how much I'd done. Said she thought those things just happened. That bills paid themselves, that groceries appeared by magic, that school fees were just part of the background. She used the word entitled. She said she was sorry. She didn't ask me to come back. She just asked if I was okay. But the thing that stayed with me wasn't the apology. It was the timing. The car had been towed the day before. Her phone service was still dead. The Wi-Fi at home was weak. She'd had to borrow a friend's hotspot just to send the message. And I realized she didn't want me back. She wanted the network, the infrastructure, the quiet man in the background who made things work without asking for thanks. And I was done being quiet, so I didn't reply. The next message came from Claire again. This time there was no subject line, just a body of text. I told her everything, all of it. She broke down. I think she finally saw what she's been doing. What I let happen. There it was. What I let happen. That was the part that landed. Because Claire wasn't innocent. She liked to float above it all. As if her hands were tied. As if Madison's disrespect was something beyond her control. But she had allowed it. Day after day. Year after year. With her silence. With her shrugs. With her gentle. She's still figuring it out. And just be patient. And she doesn't mean it. She meant it. She meant every word. And Claire let her. I texted back 3 words. It's too late. That night, Claire showed up at the Airbnb. No warning. No knocking. I opened the door and found her standing there. No makeup. No coat. Just a cardigan over her pajamas. As if she'd left in the middle of a thought and never finished it. She looked exhausted. Her voice was soft. I can't fix this. I didn't answer. I told myself it would balance out. That it was a phase. That she'd grow up. She didn't, I said. No, Claire whispered. Because I didn't make her. We stood there for a long time. 2 people who had once tried to build something on the bones of someone else's failure. I called Derek, she said. That stopped me. What? I told him she needs help. That she's spiraling. What did he say? Claire's eyes darkened. He said, that's not my problem anymore. There it was. The ghost finally spoke. The man they'd defended. The man they mythologized. The man who had floated above us like a silent deity for 5 years. untouchable, unbothered, unburdened. And now, when it was time to actually step up, to lift even a fraction of the weight I'd been carrying alone, he said, "Not my problem." Claire sat down on the edge of the rental's couch. Her hands trembled. "She's scared, Alan. She doesn't have anyone now." I stood by the window, arms crossed. "Neither did I." She looked up, eyes rimmed red. "Don't say that. It's true. You had me." "No. I had a roommate, a neutral witness." "That's not fair. Isn't it?" I turned to face her. "Tell me one time you backed me up. One time you pulled her aside and said, 'He's doing this for you. Show some respect.'" She said nothing. I stepped closer. "You let her roll her eyes at me. You let her dismiss me. You let her treat me like I was the help." She was hurting. So was I. Claire buried her face in her hands. I sat down across from her. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I finally loved myself more." She nodded slowly. "I know." There was a pause. Then, "Do you want to come home?" I shook my head. "I don't know what that word means anymore." She wiped her face. "Do you hate her?" "No," I said. "But I can't carry her anymore." The next day, the fallout began. A letter from the bank. Overdrawn account. Madison had tried to refill her prepaid card. Didn't realize it was linked to a closed account. Another from the school. Missing tuition payment. Warning of enrollment suspension if not addressed in 10 business days. Then the text started again. From Madison, "Please, I'm sorry. Just help me fix this." From Claire, "She's asking for you." I ignored them both. That night, I checked my old home security app. I hadn't deleted it yet. The front door opened at 10:16 p.m. Madison came in alone, carrying a grocery bag. She looked thinner, eyes darker. The kitchen lights flicked on. She opened the fridge, closed it, sat down at the island, put her head in her hands, and just stayed there. 20 minutes passed. No movement. Eventually, she took out her phone and typed something. A message buzzed on my screen 2 seconds later. "Are you watching me?" I didn't respond. Then another. "Why won't you talk to me?" I didn't answer. Then, "Do you really hate me that much?" And that one made me pause, because she still didn't get it. Still thought this was about anger, about punishment. It wasn't. It was about truth, about letting her live in the world she created, the one where I didn't matter, where I was just the guy her mother married, where real dad was the title she handed out while I scrubbed her vomit out of the carpet after she got food poisoning last spring. She wanted comfort without connection, support without sacrifice, and I wasn't giving her that anymore. The next morning, I finally responded. A single line. "You called me invisible. Now you're seeing what that really means." She didn't reply. Later that day, I got a call from her school. Voicemail. "Hi, this is the billing office. We've had some issues processing Madison's tuition. We understand you've been the primary payer. Could you please confirm if that's still the case?" I deleted the message. Let them call Derek. Let him fund the myth. Claire called again that night. "She's spiraling. She's adjusting. She's 17, Alan. She's not equipped for this." She should have thought of that before she told me I was nothing. Claire's voice broke. "She's not eating. She's barely sleeping. She'll survive." Silence. Then, "You're colder than I thought." "No," I said. "I'm finally consistent." That weekend, I cleaned out my bank accounts, transferred the last of the shared funds to a personal savings account, replaced the locks on my post office box, rerouted all bills to my name only, canceled the emergency line tied to Claire's number. Every rope, every connection severed. If they wanted a world without me, they had it. I gave it to them. And the weight I'd been carrying for 5 years? Gone. No more balancing what they needed with what I could survive. No more quiet sacrifices that no one asked for, but everyone expected. No more fatherhood without fatherhood. No more love without reciprocity. That was the bill coming due, and I had finally stopped paying. A week passed. Then 2. No calls. No voicemails. Just silence. It wasn't peace. Not yet. It was the vacuum left behind when noise finally stops. The kind that makes your ears ring. The kind that makes you wonder whether the worst part of being unseen is how much it starts to feel like your natural state. The Airbnb was small, clean, 2 bedrooms. No photos on the walls. No clutter. No memories waiting to bite. At first, I couldn't sleep. The bed felt too neat, too perfect. No muffled music from upstairs. No dishes left in the sink overnight. No passive sighs when I walked into the room. The absence wasn't comforting. It was surgical. But I stayed. I made coffee in the mornings. Took long walks in the cold. Ate alone. Watched the news with the volume low. Read. I checked the home security app twice a day. Just out of habit. I still hadn't disabled it. One evening, I watched Madison come home from school. No earbuds. No phone in hand. She moved like someone underwater. Like her body was heavy. She stood in the kitchen for a long time. Just stood. Staring into the sink. Then she cleaned it. Without being asked. Without anyone watching. I stared at the screen. Waiting for the old resentment to rise. The tightness. The bitterness. But all I felt was distance. She was beginning to live in the world I had always inhabited. The world where effort goes unnoticed. Where your work only matters when it fails. Claire texted that night. She's not asking for things anymore, she wrote. She's asking questions. I didn't reply. Another message. 2 days later. She wants to see you. I muted the thread. Then came the letter. Not an email. Not a text. A physical letter, folded neatly into a cheap white envelope. No return address. Just my name. Alan. The handwriting was careful. Too careful. I opened it slowly. Sat down. Madison's words were different now. Not smart. Not clever. Just raw. She said she'd reread every receipt I left. She said she didn't know what life cost until the comfort disappeared. She didn't understand money, only stability. And I was the source of that. The quiet hum in the background that kept the lights on and the walls standing. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't ask to start over. She just said this. You were there, and I chose someone who wasn't. And then, I don't want anything. I just wanted you to know I see it now. I'm sorry. I folded the letter, set it on the table. It stayed there for 3 days. Then I burned it, not out of spite, but because the man she was apologizing to didn't live in this rental house. He died the day I walked out. That man wanted to be accepted. That man thought love could be earned through labor. That man believed one more favor, one more ride, one more bill, and maybe they'd call him Dad. That man was gone. I didn't hate Madison. I didn't hate Claire. I didn't even hate Derek. But I hated who I became in that house. The version of me that smiled through erasure. The man who mistook endurance for strength. The man who thought sacrifice was noble when it was just quiet desperation. People talk about blended families like they're puzzles, as if all it takes is enough patience to fit the pieces together. But some puzzles come from different boxes, and some people don't want to be completed by you, they want to be held up while pretending they're whole already. Claire came by again the next Sunday. I saw her car through the window. She didn't knock right away, just sat there for a while. Engine off, head resting against the steering wheel. I waited. When she finally came to the door, I opened it without a word. She looked thinner, older. Her voice was quieter. She misses you. She misses the life, I said. Not the man. Claire stepped inside. Sat at the table like she'd done 100 times before. But this time she didn't try to own the space. She just existed in it. Carefully. She reads that spreadsheet, she said. Over and over. It's not a ledger, I said. It's a mirror. She didn't know. She didn't want to know. Claire didn't argue. She stared at her hands. I should have defended you. You didn't. No. She treated me like a stranger. And you let her. She looked up, eyes glassy. I didn't think it would last. It always lasts, I said. You let it last. Then I asked the question that had been boiling in my chest since the day I walked out. When you posted that science project photo? When you thanked Derek? Did you know it would hurt me? Claire didn't flinch. Yes. The honesty stunned me more than any lie could have. I thought she needed to believe he cared, she said. That she came from someone solid. And I thought you were strong enough to take it. I nodded slowly. That's what I was to them. A wall. A shield. A storage unit for emotional damage. You used me, I said. Claire didn't deny it. We sat in silence for a long time. The kind of silence that doesn't ask for forgiveness. It just waits to be buried. Then she said something I'll never forget. I think I loved you more because you tolerated it. And that's when I knew I'd never go back. Because she didn't love me for who I was. She loved me for what I absorbed. Claire stood to leave. No goodbyes. No tears. Just a quiet door clicking shut behind her. 3 days later, Madison texted again. Not asking for anything. Just want to talk. I let it sit. She texted again the next day. Derek blocked me. I haven't heard from him in weeks. Then, I get it now. I really do. Still, I didn't reply. Because getting it wasn't enough. Getting it didn't undo 5 years of condescension. It didn't erase the time she handed my dinner to the dog and said, well, Derek makes better steak anyway. It didn't change the fact that when I finally said no, the whole house acted like I'd committed a crime. They said they wanted freedom. Now they had it. Freedom comes with a price. She texted one final time. If you ever want to see me again, I'll be at the coffee shop by the school. Saturdays. Noon. If you don't come, I'll stop waiting. That Saturday I didn't go. Not out of cruelty, but because I didn't want to be her project. I didn't want to be her last-minute rescue from guilt. I wanted to be respected. And respect doesn't arrive in desperation. It arrives in time. Maybe one day she'll understand that silence can be an answer. Maybe not. But I finally stopped waiting. The next week, I canceled the security app. Let the feed go dark. Changed my number. Not out of fear, but clarity. The man they ignored is gone. What's left is someone who refuses to be erased again. And that's where I leave you. You've read everything. You've seen the receipts. You've followed the unraveling. So I ask you now, not out of anger, not out of spite, but from the deepest part of my tired, broken, rebuilt self. Was I wrong? Was it cruelty to demand the respect I'd earned? Was I heartless to stop bleeding into a house that only noticed when the wounds dried up? Would you have stayed? Would you have kept smiling through the erasure? Would you have kept paying? Or would you have done what I did? Would you have finally said, enough?